Hey y'all, it's Nancy, the Handy Scandy, here for Whimsy Stamps. Thanks for joining me. Today I wanted to send y'all a big old monster hug and show you how I made this easy layered card in the process. So I will be using a variety of Whimsy products today, but the star of the show really are the Monster Cuties and the Monster Mood stamp set. I will have everything linked and listed downstairs as usual. But just keep in mind that if you try to replicate this card in some way, you use whatever you have and whatever you want. You do not have to make the card as busy and as full as I do. So just keep all of that in mind. Now there is a lot of die cutting for this card. And of course first I stamped and then I'm die cutting the little fence and then I'm die cutting the oval. I have Desert Storm cardstock there from Cut Cardstock. And a lot of the white is just watercolor card from my stash because I wasn't sure if I was going to put any kind of pigment on them or not, but here we go. And then on the oval panel, I really wanted it to be framed out, so I used the Wonky Stitched rectangle die just to frame it out. And of course, I cut out all the trees and the words and just all of it, and it's all ready to go. So now I'm stamping out my cute little monsters, and they're absolutely adorable. I mean, I can't get enough of the monsters right now, guys. They're just so stinking sweet. I love them so much. Now, I will be coloring them up with my Olos here in just a little bit, but before that, I want to do a little bit of my Down and Dirty ink blending to create this sky. So I like an odd colored sky. I really like a yellow, but I kind of like green too. And then the green and blue just struck me today as I was making my card. So that's what we go with. I have peeled paint and I have Stormy Sky. And again, just the Down and Dirty ink blending. I don't worry about a beautiful smooth blend. There's a time and a place for that. It's usually not going to be on my projects. That's just the truth of it. But I'm just going back and forth and adding layer upon layer till I get the intensity that I want. And you saw that I was auditioning my oval frame so I could make sure that I was getting the color where I needed it so that it would actually be in the frame. And so now it's time to color, and you can see that I'm using my Olos. I only color this little guy for you, and the first, I don't know, the first minute or so is in real time, and then I bump up the speed because, of course, I want to be mindful and respectful of your time. And I am no colorist, but I know a lot of people like to know some of the details anyway, and they like to see some of the process, at least some of the process in real time. If you want to see all of them colored in real time, let me know, because I still have the footage and I can always put together a video for my channel. Just let me know that downstairs in the comments, and if there's enough of a demand, I can surely make that happen for y'all. But I just want to tell you the colors that I'm using. I have, it's the RG, which is red gray 3, red gray 5, and red gray 7. So if you guys are familiar with the Olos, those colors might make sense to you. If not, I guess the coloring system is very similar to a Copic, at least that's my understanding. But I have warm grays, cool grays, red grays. I think that's all I have. Warm, yeah, warm, cool, and red. So, but they're very fun. And look at this little guy. So I use the 3, of course, to color the whole guy, and then I'm coming in with the 5 just to add some of those shadows, and then I'll come in with the 7 just to add a little bit more depth. And now when I blend it out, you'll notice that I'm not coloring in like strokes. I'm really using more of a dabbing or a dotting technique, and to me that makes it a little bit more mottled, like there's texture or fur. And I use a similar technique, oh gosh, it's been some time ago now, when I did one of the voodoo doll cards, and I had said that I would get back to you guys on how I did that, and I never did, and so my apologies. But that's exactly what I did, was I just kind of dot the tip of the marker and just kind of buff it out, if you will, instead of blend. It's just kind of a buffing. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but yeah, let me know downstairs if you want to see something more detailed, and I can definitely make that happen for y'all. But for now, this is how he's going, and I think he's adorable. You can see all the shadows on the left, and then that means the light source would be over on the right, our right anyway. And I don't really worry too much about light sources and that kind of thing, but it just made sense to me on this one. And now I'm using one of my, is it a yellow orange? No, it's an orange red to do the horns and the little spikies on his head and his tail. I'm guessing he's like a dinosaur and it probably goes all the way down his back, but I don't know. Then I also use a little darker one just to add a little bit of depth, and of course they have to have green eyes, you know. Now you can see that I colored up the kind of blue-gray one at the top. I end up not using him just because my scene is very full and I didn't want to overfill it. But again, if you want to make this card or anything similar, you use what you have. You use what pleases your eye and makes sense to your scene. You can use just one guy. You don't have to have the trees on the inside of the scene and the outside of the scene. You do you, and it's going to be beautiful just the way you make it. Now this little guy is from the Monster Moods, I believe is what it's called. I'll have it linked and listed downstairs. But he's the only one that I used on this date for this particular project, and I don't have those dies. So I fussy cut him, but it was pretty simple. Now, in terms of making this the layered card, as I'm putting on this double-sided foam tape to lift this frame up or this front panel up, you could easily make this a window card by adding some acetate or some vellum or, gosh, some tulle or whatever you might want across that window before you put the foam tape down. You could even make it into a shaker card in the same way. You put your acetate, you would put an adhesive down on the cardstock, then your acetate, and then the foam tape, and then the foam tape would be creating your shaker wells. I chose not to do that today. I just wanted the layers. So it could be kind of like a shadow box scene, if you will. And so I have that layer built up, and now I'm adding my fence. I colored this in off screen, and I'm going to cut off all that excess with my scissors and just kind of trim it up around the edges. And I guess I took out the scene where I adhered the trees on the inside, the deciduous trees, but I just adhered the little row of 3 to the back of the fence, and then I adhered the whole panel down to the sky panel, and then I put the larger of the deciduous trees in front of the fence. And then of course you can see that I'm adding the birch trees there to the front, and it just adds so much depth and dimension to this card to have all those different layers of trees. And just using foam tape, that's how you get the dimension. It's really that simple. And, you know, whether I'm doing some type of an inky background or mixed media or something like this, I just love the layers. That's just a one layer card just doesn't do it for me. I love them. I think they're beautiful when other people do them. But for my creative sensibilities, I need layers of something. And this layered card really is simple. Now, I often say that I don't have a plan when I sit down. This one I did, because if you're going to do something layered like this, you kind of got to know what you're doing. That doesn't mean that things don't morph and change and look a little bit different in the end than it did in my head, because that definitely happens. But yeah, it really is not that difficult. I love the monster being stamped right onto the background, and in the big, I don't know if you can tell, but I've got a little bit of the blue ink blended onto the bottom of the big, and a little bit of the green ink blended onto the top of the hug. And do you see the little fuzzy guy hiding and peeking in the trees? Isn't he adorable? Everything's adorable. I can't stand it. It's all absolutely adorable. But yeah, like I said, guys, it looks more complicated than it is, and I hope that the way I put it together and allowed you to see all the steps, I hope that that makes sense to you as well. But, you know, let me know your thoughts, because I really am sending this big monster hug to you guys. You're all so supportive and so understanding and patient and kind to me, and I just want to send a big monster hug to my Whimsy family. So thank you so much, and I hope that you will join us over on our Facebook page as well as Pinterest and Instagram. Use those links downstairs if you're interested in shopping. And until next time, y'all, this is Nancy, the Handy Scandy for Whimsy. Mwah! I'm out.